Hello and welcome to Dude Hack. My name is Steve and today we're going to be talking about the dating app Hinge. Now, over the recent years, we have seen a lot of different dating apps emerge, especially after the popularity of Tinder, especially the more sort of, simplistic style, swiping, location-based style of the modern dating apps that we know today, just like, say, Bumble. One of those apps that has emerged, which in my opinion is one of the best, and I think going into 2021, we will be hearing a lot more of. That dating app is Hinge. Now, today we're going to be going over everything you need to know about. What is it? How does it work? How the algorithm works? All the ins and outs before you give it a try, or if you've already given it a try, you want to know a little bit more about it. Today we're going to be taking a full deep dive into everything you need to know. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is Hinge? Hinge is a location-based dating app that is designed to be deleted. Now that's what the company says. So just that in and of itself basically shows that they are trying to shift away from the sort of hookup culture that comes along with some of these other dating apps like Tinder or Bumble. So really, if you're looking for something a little bit more serious, you are starting to get over, say, Tinder and Bumble, then maybe Hinge is for you. Hinge uses a well thought out algorithm to match you with like-minded people, and that right there could be one of the reasons why 3 out of 4 first dates that do start from Hinge lead to a second. So those stats right there, they're pretty good considering. So how exactly does Hinge work? Well, like we said, it is a location-based dating app, and not too much is all that different from some of the ones that you might know already. For example, a mutual like is needed to progress into a conversation. What I mean by that is your potential match needs to like you, and you need to like that potential match in order for you to, get a match and actually start a conversation. Without that, you will not be able to talk to your match. So unlike some other dating apps out there where you have just free reign, you can message anyone, Hinge still does fit the same sort of mold as your dating apps like Tinder, like Bumble. Now, one of the main differences between Hinge and some of the other dating apps that we're talking about is the fact that rather than starting just a general conversation on anything, with Hinge you do have to take an aspect of their profile and comment on that to start the conversation. So what exactly I mean by that is Hinge, will just have photos, just like any dating profile. They'll also have prompts, which we'll go into in a little bit more detail. It's basically that user's answer to a few questions. Think about it as a few little mini biographies throughout. So what you as the user will do when you want to start a conversation with someone is, instead of, like I said, just saying, hey, how are you? You're going to take one of these aspects. Let's just say it's the user's photo. You're going to comment on that photo. That could be asking a question about it. If it's them on holiday, you could say, I've been there as well, whatever that might be. Basically, instead of just starting it out with something boring, you're already getting off the ground with an icebreaker. Now, this is purely anecdotal, but what I've found from using Hinge firsthand is that conversations do tend to get off the ground a little bit sooner. I found the momentum is on your side and you can start getting into the good stuff, i.e., talking about something that is exciting rather than just the weather, a lot sooner on Hinge. Now, when it comes to building your profile on Hinge, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. You don't have to go through any long questionnaires or anything like that on dating apps like eHarmony or anything, but there still is some must-dos. The big difference compared to, say, Tinder, where you can do the sneaky, put up, say, 1 or 2 photos, on Hinge you need to have 6. On top of that, you need to answer something called prompts. Now, that's what I was telling you about before. It's basically like little short question answer type, blurbs, biographies on your profile. So when you do set up your profile, Hinge is going to prompt you, no pun intended, it's going to prompt you to answer their prompts. Now, what these can range from is, 2 truths, 1 lie, my perfect Sunday, etc., etc. You get the idea. So just to clarify, guys, you do need 6 photos. That's 6 photos to get started. you will also need to answer a minimum of 3 prompts. And on top of that, because it is a location-based app, I think you can probably piece it together that you do need to set your location. Now, personally, I think it's really good that Hinge does actually, make it mandatory to add 6 photos, to add these prompts. The reason being because it is trying to shift towards being more of a relationship-focused app. Guys, one, photo of you in the bathroom mirror taking a selfie isn't going to be enough to paint a picture of who you are. It's putting up 6 photos of you, hopefully giving, different aspects of your life, showing different sort of sides of who you are, is a better way to break the ice a little bit more and hopefully find someone like-minded who is like you. So in a nutshell, guys, it's a good thing to put up 6 photos, and it's a good thing when you're browsing other people's photos to also get an idea of who they are. Next, on top of that, you're going to be answering something called My Virtues and My Vitals. Now, My Virtues is pretty straightforward. It's basically answering some of that more sort of surface level stuff like your views on your politics, what your career is like, your education level, and just some extra information for your match to get an idea of who you are. My Vitals is pretty much the same, but even more sort of standard. We're talking about your age, your height, your location, but it does go a little bit deeper with that one into stuff like, my family plans, things like that. So with these, you don't have to answer every single one, but it gives you just a bit more information about who you are and allows your match to see if you would click. Next, last but not least, My Vices. Now, I think this is great that they've added this in. This is basically, some of your habits might be bad, might be just, for a little bit of fun, no judgment from me, but we're talking about drinking, smoking, drug use, marijuana use. I think it's great that you can just be really straight up, especially in Australia where, something like marijuana is illegal. Guys, let's be straightforward. People still do it, so it's good to put that stuff in. If you're a smoker, put it in. Whatever, you'll find someone that hopefully is as well. Cool. Now, with your preferences is basically setting filters. It works off all these, last things that we're talking about, vitals, virtues, and your vices, and allows you to set filters based on those answers. For example, if you are someone who just does not want to date a smoker, it's just extremely imperative to you, you've done it before, you hated it, highly important to you, then you can set a filter to, not be shown any smokers. Simple as that. Do I think you should do this? Personally, no. Now, I'm funny with this is just me. I personally think nobody should ever set any preferences. That's just me. The reason for that is so many times with my clients, and some people laugh at me, some people think I'm kind of silly. So many times before, that person that you mightn't have thought would have been your cup of tea, you might not have thought would have been, the girl of your dreams, the guy of your dreams. So many times people have this list of requirements for what they want or need in a guy and a girl, but the one that they end up with, maybe only ticks off 1 or 2 of those things, which isn't a bad thing because you end up with the person you love, hopefully. So what I'm getting at, guys, is being open-minded. Sure, if you're, 100% set on not having a smoker, sure, fine. It's unhealthy. That's understandable. But don't go in with a strict, rigid list of exactly who you want in a partner. That's just my 2 cents. By all means, it's there. There are preferences for you to do whatever you want with them. Just a little caveat with that. Now, even though you do set filters sometimes, Hinge will let these profiles that do have that thing that you've filter out against, for example, a smoker, Hinge will still allow those profiles to see you. So what I'm getting at is those profiles can still sort of, slip through the cracks and you still could match with them. So if it is just the most important thing and so imperative and you just do not even want to communicate with smokers, for example, what you can do is set a deal breaker. Now, deal breaker is taking it just a little step above your preference. A deal breaker is excluding anybody that matches that criteria that you filtered out against. That means they can't see your profile, it means you can't see their profile. Technically, they just don't exist to you and vice versa on this dating app. So Hinge Discover Hinge Discover is basically the exact same as your Tinder matching, your swiping screen. That's where you'll see different profiles that you can swipe through. Remember, you can like an aspect of their profile or also go ahead and comment on an aspect of their profile. So when you do that to another user, they will get notified. Now, let's just say that you're swiping, you do come across a profile and you're not sure. You can press the X to basically give a pass on the profile if they're not your cup of tea. Or, like I said, you can go ahead and press the love heart on any part of their profile, whether that's a photo or a prompt. You can even actually go into their Instagram. If they do have it linked, there will be the 9 tiles that you can click on. Open up one of their Instagram photos and you can even like that and write a comment on that. Now, on Hinge's free version, and I personally don't suggest you upgrade, at least anytime soon, you do get 10 swipes a day. Now, that might not sound like a lot. On Tinder, that would go like that. It's just very, very different to Tinder. I find that Hinge is a little bit more deliberate, a little bit more strategic. Strategic's probably the wrong word, but what I mean by that is you'll get in front of a profile, you'll take your time with it. You'll read through their prompts, you'll look at their photos, and you'll try to find an aspect of, something that's similar to you, something that you can comment on. So what I find is having the 10 swipes, it actually works fine. You don't need more than that. It's not an app you want to just endlessly swipe through. If you're liking, 10 different profiles a day, that is more than enough when you fast forward, say, 10 days. So just give it a try on the free version first. In my opinion, if you want to go ahead and jump up to the paid preferred membership, absolutely up to you, but you should be fine with just your 10 swipes a day. Now, there is also a section on Hinge called Likes You. It's very, very similar to, say, Tinder Gold, where you can see everybody that's already liked you. The name kind of says it all. Now, with Hinge, on the free version, you will be able to see the last person that has liked you. Fortunately, every single other person previous to that, their photo will be blurred. You will see their answer, i.e. to one of your prompts or one of your photos, but you won't be able to go in and view their profile. The only way you can is, let's just say that your latest, your last person that you have liked, you decide to say, no, I'm not interested, or yes, let's have a match and let's start this conversation. If you basically give them an outcome, they will exit out of that screen, and the last person who has been your, who has liked you, I should say, will now show up. So it's a good way without paying. You don't have to see everybody, but you can see one at a time, who has liked you. If you're someone who's getting hundreds of matches a day, or lucky you, maybe you will want to upgrade so you can see them all. But look, for me right now, you'll see one at a time. That's more than enough. Now, when you do decide to like that profile is going to move from the Likes You section down into your matches. So you can start a conversation and talk as much as you want. Now, this is not like other dating apps like Bumble, where they've set parameters or rules around who can message who first. Once the two of you match, anyone can message, anyone can go ahead and start the conversation. Now, Hinge has another feature called Most Compatible. This is where Hinge's algorithm really comes into play. What the most compatible is basically serving you up a suggestion of somebody that its algorithm has determined you will be a good match with. Now, to be completely honest, this isn't just something that they've pulled out of thin air and they match you with just anyone. I have found that there is quite a lot of thought and it is quite deliberate. Who you are suggested for and vice versa is purely based on your interests, your virtues, your vitals, and everything else that you have put in your profile, as well as your behavior on the app. Now, look, I'm no algorithm expert, and to be honest, I don't even exactly know the ins and outs of what makes up an algorithm, but it is based off something called the marriage stable problem, or the stable marriage problem. Now, what that means, I don't exactly know. All I know is that it is successful, and based on other dating apps that might not be as well thought out, i.e. Tinder and Bumble, Hinge does put focus on matching like-minded people. Hinge has even gone as far to ask some of the people that have met based on the most compatible algorithm and ask how the dates went. A whopping 3 out of 4 of those dates led to a second one. So they must be doing something right with the algorithm. Now, most dating apps these days will allow you to pay a little bit extra to upgrade to a paid membership, which will allow you to unlock certain features and just stand out a little bit more. Now, the Hinge paid membership is something called the preferred membership. With the preferred membership, it unlocks 3 different features for you. Number 1, see who likes you. As I mentioned before, with the Likes You screen, you are only able to see one person at a time. When you do upgrade, obviously you can see absolutely everybody that's liked you, much the same as Tinder Gold. The other thing that it unlocks is your preferred preferences. Earlier, I told you how you can set preferences, basically like setting filters. Now, with your preferred preferences, you can actually set filters on some certain things that you couldn't on the free version. Things like height or drug use. For whatever reason on the free version, they are excluded. But when you do upgrade to the preferred paid membership, you can set these as filters. So look, ladies or guys even, if you are very, very strict on not dating someone under a certain height, you can upgrade to the preferred membership and go ahead and set that filter. Now again, remember, I don't agree with it, but you can by all means use it. And the last thing that you do get access to is just unlimited likes. So earlier I did say that you get 10 likes to use per day. So with the preferred membership, obviously you can use as many as you want. Now, do I suggest that you go ahead and you pay for Hinge? Like I said earlier, no, not really. I think the free version gives you more than enough to at least get started on. So if you haven't used Hinge before or you're just looking at it for the first time, definitely jump in without spending a cent. It will be more than enough. Now, from those 3 features that I just spoke about, there's not really anything there that's, I guess, standing in your way, or anything that out of those 3 that will, really allow you to get more out of the app than you aren't already. Sure, the fact that you are limited with 10 likes, that's something that can stand in the way to some. Like I said before, it is more than enough. Hinge shouldn't be something that you're just swiping on like crazy anyway. So, look guys, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, should you pay for Hinge? No. But look, to wrap that up, guys, even though I'd suggest that you don't pay for Hinge, I highly suggest you give it a go. I found personally, and I use Hinge personally, I have found that it is a great dating app, like I said, to get conversations off the ground earlier, to have a little bit of an icebreaker, to get into more in-depth conversations with like-minded people. So this is where you should use Hinge. If you're somebody who's tried the apps like Tinder or Bumble, and you're thinking it's maybe just a little bit too sleazy, or it's just too much of a sort of slot machine of people type thing, I highly suggest moving on to something like Hinge. You'll see it's a little bit more of an upgrade, not quite your pure relationship marriage focused apps like your eHarmony, but I will be pretty confident in saying that anybody that is a little bit uncomfortable with your Tinders and whatnot, that you might feel a little bit more at home on something like Hinge. So guys, that wraps it up completely. If you've never ever used a dating app before, if you've never used Hinge before, if you used it a while ago, it's been a while since you jumped on, go ahead and download it. I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. There's nothing that I gain from this, but I think it's a pretty good one out there. Yes, there are better ones, but yes, there are a lot of worse ones. So if you're in that sort of 18 to 30 age group, you're not exactly sure what you're looking for 100%, but you want to move on from that sort of sleazy slot machine type aspect of your Tinders and your Bumbles, guys, go ahead, download Hinge today. It's available on Android, so on Google Play, on the App Store, whatever it's called these days. Guys, go check it out. And this has been Steve from Dude Hack. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon. Bye now.